Hello, good evening, and thanks for watching the news with me, Eric Insikiti. First, the headlines. Pressure mounts on President Lazarus Chakwera to deal with challenges facing this year's Affordable Inputs Program. Activist Sylvester Namiwa challenges the state on the transfer of his case. And authorities warn congestion at Mzuzu prison places inmates at risk of contracting COVID-19. We have more on these and other stories. Please do stay with us. In our first story this evening, pressure continues to mount on President Lazarus Chakwera to solve challenges facing this year's Affordable Inputs Program. The Parliamentary Committee on Agriculture and other experts have called on President Chakwera to act with speed on the matter. Audrey Kabalamula reports from Nilongwe.
Chairperson for the Parliamentary Committee on Agriculture, Samia Suleiman, in an interview said his committee requested for a meeting with Chakwera over AIP to give its input, but no response has come yet. Suleiman says for the 1 million beneficiaries to remain on the list, there is need for extra funds. He has warned that government cannot ask for extra funds for the program without the involvement of Parliament.
The money that was there is not enough, according to what government is saying now. So there's need for them to come back to ask for extra funding and explain why they need that extra funding. We need to be aware of what is happening.
State House Director of Communications and Chakwera's Executive Assistant, Sean Kampondeni, says Chakwera is still consulting various stakeholders on the prices of fertilizer and that the public would be told of the way forward.
Once those discussions and resolutions have been completed, there would be a statement to the Malawian people from the administration on what has been resolved.
In the 2021 to 2022 budget, Parliament approved 142 billion kwacha for AIP, a reduction from 160 billion kwacha used in the 2020 to 2021 farming season. Agriculture expert Tamani Nkonumvula has also exerted more pressure on Chakwera, urging him to end the confusion that has engulfed the AIP because it is working against the farming season.
Our hope was that by this time, farmers should have started buying fertilizers and all those. But with this confusion and uncertainty, I think it may delay a number of things, and that will pose a challenge at the end of the day.
Current prices on the market indicate that a 50 kg bag of fertilizers would cost 40,000 kwacha from 20,000 kwacha.
Activist Sylvester Namiwa has challenged an application by the state to transfer his case from Nkukula Magistrate Court in Doha to Lilongwe Magistrate Court. The Center for Democracy and Development Initiative's Executive Director, through his lawyer Oscar Taulo, has also asked the court to postpone proceedings until the High Court finalizes a judicial review on the case. Matthews Gasanda reports.
Namiwa appeared before the Nkukula Magistrate Court in Doha on Monday. Namiwa and 10 others were arrested in Lilongwe on August 11, 2021 for allegedly holding vigils without permission to force Parliament to speak on a 93 billion kwacha loan authorization bill that was reportedly smuggled into Parliament. Last week, the High Court granted a judicial review of the case, which has been scheduled to take place on September 30, 2021. Taulo explains.
As you are aware that Mr. Namiwa has also gone to the High Court to challenge his arrest by way of judicial review. And the court has granted a leave for judicial review. Now that it has granted a leave, Mr. Namiwa is also challenging the present proceedings that are in this court, that they should not proceed.
The case has since been adjourned to Tuesday this week, when the court will give its ruling on Namiwa's application.
And prominent activist Rafiki Hajat has been laid to rest in South Africa. A family member, Abbas Panjwani, has told Times Hajat succumbed to a heart attack early on Sunday. President Lazarus Chakwera has since conveyed his condolences to the family, as Sam Banda reports.
Of tumultuous exultation. It was a day of frenetic excitation. It was a day of profound contemplation, a day of upholding the Constitution.
The country has been dealt a heavy blow following the death of prominent civil rights activist Rafik Hajat. Hajat, who would have celebrated his 66th birthday on Tuesday, was laid to rest on Monday afternoon at West Park Cemetery in Johannesburg, South Africa. According to one of the family members, Abbas Panjwani, Hajat suffered a heart attack in the early hours of Sunday and died on the way to South Africa. Academician and political commentator Nandine Patel said she was saddened with Hajat's death. Human Rights Defenders Coalition HRDC chairperson Gift Trapens said the country has lost an icon of democracy.
Now we have lost an icon of democracy. We have lost a fearless leader. We have lost someone who has been consistent in terms of defending the voice of the voiceless. We will mourn and remember the greatest son of Malawi who stood on the good principles of democracy. I think as young leaders, we have learned a lot in terms of his professionalism. We have learned a lot in terms of his expertise in the field of good governance, in the field of accountability. We will remember his name because of the principles that he stood for this country.
According to Panjwani, Hajat is survived by a wife and 2 children. Hajat was the founding director of IPI and was the founder of Transparency International Malawi chapter. The activist and Kamlepo Kalua formed a forum for the defense of democracy, a pressure group on governance concerns under the Bingu wa Mutharika administration. Hajat was one of the main civil society organizers of the July 20 ultimatum and July 20 nationwide economic protests, which later forced him to go into hiding for a few days, but later continued to organize subsequent protests. On September 2, 2011, the offices of IPI were banned whilst Hajat was traveling to Lilongwe. In 2012, Hajat was a finalist for the Frontline Award for Human Rights Defenders at Risk, which ultimately went to Syrian blogger Lazan Ghazawi.
Authorities have warned that congestion at Mzuzu prison places inmates at risk of contracting COVID-19. The prison has a population of about 749 inmates against the 329 inmates it was constructed to accommodate. Sam Kalimira is in Mzuzu.
Mzuzu prison officer in charge Owen Levy revealed this when Red Cross Malawi donated personal protective equipment to inmates under its mass PPEs distribution exercise. Levy said despite the move by the government to decongest prisons by pardoning some inmates, the number of people who are sent to prison keeps on increasing. He added that a good number of the prisoners have been vaccinated, but their efforts are frustrated because their prison cells are always congested with new inmates.
You will still see that the spacing between those people is not there. What it means is that the people are breathing onto each other's faces. And we are talking of COVID. COVID, one way of spreading is that we have to social distance ourselves, and that is not there. So if we have a case in one of the cells, you would find that it will spread much more easier and faster.
But Malawi Red Cross Society General Secretary McBain Kanongoza said they need more serious interventions in order to keep inmates safe from COVID-19 pandemic.
Once we feel they are even worse affected for the fact that in most cases we hear they work under a stressed environment or resources, and the COVID has actually exerted even more pressure to prisons to do the best they can with the little that they have.
Malawi Red Cross also donated PPEs to Mzuzu Central Hospital, and it is using around 2.5 billion kwacha funds from European Union, humanitarian aid and other partners.
As we are speaking, Malawi is expected to receive its first batch of the Pfizer vaccine this month, the country's third type of COVID vaccine. Secretary for Health Charles Mwansambo confirmed the arrival of the 372,000 Pfizer vaccine this month. Matthews Kasanda has more in this report.
The Ministry of Health has indicated that it has received vaccine storage equipment from the government of America and that the equipment are being distributed to all districts across the country. The Ministry of Health spokesperson Adrian Chikumbe has told Times that the latest instructions that the Pfizer vaccine can be stored at the normal refrigerator's temperature and be used within 30 days. Chikumbe says if the vaccine needs to be stored longer than 30 days, then it is supposed to be kept at as cold as -80 degrees Celsius. He has added that the ministry is yet to decide if the Pfizer vaccine could also be administered to children below 18 years of age, as it is being done in other countries.
We know in other countries the Pfizer is also being given to those maybe even as young as 12. But as for Malawi, we made a decision that we should start from 18 and above. Now that Pfizer has got different allowance in terms of age, we want to decide as a nation. So we are discussing. We want to decide as Malawi if we're able to give the Pfizer. But for now, we still maintain that we're giving COVID-19 vaccine to those from 18 and above.
Last month, the expanded program on immunization manager in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Mike Chisema, said the ministry was working with UNICEF to purchase 1,600 liters of storage space to be used in storing the Pfizer vaccine. Currently, Malawi is using two types of COVID-19 vaccine, Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca.
Now, earlier on Monday, the National Initiative for Civic Education, NICE Trust, called on the government to introduce mobile clinics where people can access COVID vaccines. In a COVID-19 awareness and vaccine mobilization campaign report, the trust says many people want reassessment of vaccine centers in districts. Wezi Gausi reports.
NICE Trust spokesperson Grace Hala says there are complaints of long distances, which is making the vaccine inaccessible to many members of the general public out there. She says people want to have health personnel moving and vaccinating people in their areas where possible.
Some people in hard-to-reach areas, some of the districts, are failing to reach to get the vaccine because of the very long distances. You know how the terrain is in some districts. Some mention of Zimba, Chitiba, just to mention a few, people are failing to access it. So we were proposing that maybe if there are mobile clinics which would go maybe on a market day, go to market, and then people would line up and get the vaccine.
Malawi Health Equity Network Mehin Executive Director George Jobe says as much as the mobile clinics are good, but the Ministry of Health needs to do assessment in communities before taking the path.
The quantity should not exceed too much the number of people who are ready to avoid having some vaccines expire, because you go to a hard-to-reach, you take certain vaccines and you vaccinate one person only.
The Minister of Health spokesperson Adrian Chikumbe welcomed the suggestion, saying the ministry has also noticed a decline in turnout of people to get vaccinated.
We've already started these mobile clinics. We are already taking the vaccine to the people, while we also allow others to come to facilities.
As of Monday, September 13, 2021, about 452,000 people were the ones that got fully vaccinated of 2 doses of AstraZeneca vaccines and 1 dose of Johnson & Johnson.
Renowned feminists Emma Kalia and Jessica Bwira have called for more investments towards women empowerment in the country. The two were guest speakers at a training Girls Empowerment Network organized for young feminists in Blantyre on Monday.
This gender sector, in whatever way, whether you talk about the actual mainstream government system where we have Ministry of Gender, the resources that are allocated there are not enough to cater for the issues that we have in the gender sector, because it is a ministry that has to take care of gender, it has to take care of the welfare of people, and it does not say welfare of people only, women. It takes care of welfare of everybody. So it requires more resources. The young women are not objects. They are human beings. They should not be treated like second-class citizens. At the same time, they need to know what is good for them and what is bad for them. So for that reason, I was simply emphasizing the need for them to start understanding what is good for them and what is bad for them.
Girls Empowerment Network Programs Advisor Takundwa Kalio says the training will help young girls share knowledge on challenges women face.
We have decided to organize this training because at Girls Empowerment Network, we believe that leadership is transferred from one generation to the other. So we are aiming to equip these young girls as they are growing up and deciding on which careers to go or what to do, so that they are already trained and know what issues to advocate for. They need to have information on what issues women face and how they can contribute to gender empowerment. What we want to achieve is to have young women that are equipped with the right information about gender-based violence, about gender equality, about the feminist movement, so that they can ably contribute to the development of this country.
When we come back, we'll tell you why truck drivers in the country have announced a strike.
We all start differently, but we can all start with the strongest protection. Because some start early, others start late. Some from little homes, others from big ones. Some start together, or all on their own.
It doesn't matter how you start, as long as you start strong with new Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection. Now with fluoride plus arginine for 4 times more strengthening power, so that you can give them the strongest start to their day. Colgate. Start strong, stay strong.
If there's one thing that all soaps do, it's wash. From buckets to basins, bathrooms to streams, and everything in between.
All soaps wash.
Yes, but Protex is different. Its reinvented formula with flaxseed oil boosts your skin's natural anti-germ defenses by 10 times more, protecting you against 99.9% of germs. So what keeps us healthy?
Protex!
Good health starts here.
Mona malawi anzanga. Nkhondo yogonjetsa COVID-19 ndiya wina aliyense. Tili limodzi. Ine ndinasankha kulandira katemera wa COVID-19 atangoyamba kuberekedwa. Chifukwa monga namwino, moyo wanga, umoyo wa odwala amene ndimawasamalira, abale anga, ndi dera langa, ndi zinthu zomwe ndimazika pa mtima panga kwambiri. Katemera wa COVID-19 anditeteza ine ndi ena omwe analandira katemerayo ku chiopsezo choti tingadwale mwakayakaya, kugonekedwa mchipatala, kapena kutaya moyo wathu chifukwa cha COVID-19. Kulandira katemerayo kutithandiza kuthana ndi mliri wa COVID-19 limodzi.
Ziwani zambiri za katemerayo ndi kupanga chisankho cha nzeru. Sankhani katemera, tetezani tsogolo.
Welcome back. Truck drivers under the Professional Drivers Union and the Truck Drivers Association say they will hold a nationwide strike from September 27 this year. The drivers say the strike follows the government's failure to implement resolutions reached during a meeting with cabinet ministers and other top government officials in July this year. Donga Sobola has more in this report, read by Matthews Kasanda.
Among others, the drivers, through their lawyer Sylvester Ayuba James, said they agreed with the government to reduce the cost of their express passport from 180,000 kwacha to 60,000 kwacha from 1st August 2021. They said the meeting also agreed that the government would enforce the minimum salaries for the drivers to be at least 140,000 kwacha per month for transborder drivers and 100,000 kwacha per month for those operating within the country. According to the truck drivers, top government officials present during the July 14 meeting included Homeland Security Minister Richard Chimwendo Banda, Civic Education and National Unity Minister Timothy Ntambo, Deputy Minister of Health Chris Kalamula-Kanyasho, and Deputy Transport Minister Nancy Chaola Ndoko. James says they will not entertain any more calls to a meeting, saying the issues have been discussed many times.
So we have come to a point where we're convinced that government does not want to help, although the concerns fall within their jurisdiction to take care of. And for that reason, the only option we have is to hold nationwide demonstrations to make a point and make it very clear that we will not go back to work until these issues are addressed.
Doko, however, says the concerns raised by the drivers touch on a number of ministries, and as such the ministry looked at issues within its jurisdiction. She says the government has started addressing some of the concerns raised by the truck drivers.
Livingstonia Synod of the CCAB has asked its clergy to open up when they are faced with mental health issues. Synod officials say marriage programs are one of the lead causes of mental health amongst the clergy. Patience Lunda has the story.
Speaking after a certificate awarding ceremony on Sunday in Mzimba to mark the completion of the training, the Synod's moderator, Reverend Isaac Malongo, said the Synod setup enables other ministers to act as parents for other ministers and are responsible for resolving issues. Malongo said the seminars would also benefit church members facing similar challenges who often run to the church ministers for psychological support.
Most of the time as they continue to stay together as family, with the busy schedule that they have, sometimes the relationship becomes difficult and broken.
On his part, Synod Capacity Development Officer Reverend Glad Kumwenda said special seminars targeting single parents, youths about to get married, widows and widowers are also being formulated.
We have received overwhelming positive impact from the participants. You see, the project has mended the broken relationship.
One of the participants of the marriage seminar, Reverend Elia Mulongwe, said the marriage seminar has been an eye-opener as it has renewed their marriage commitments. The marriage seminars began in May this year and are targeting to reach about 300 ministers and their spouses in the Synod. Some of the topics being taught at the marriage seminars include conflict management, empowerment, sex, forgiveness, and home management.
The government has granted diplomatic status to the African Institute for Development Policy. The decision will allow AFIDEP to operate more efficiently in the country. Minister of Foreign Affairs Zenhoa Nkaka and AFIDEP head in Malawi Nyovani Madise signed the diplomacy agreement at a ceremony in Lilongwe. Matthews Kasanda reports.
Nkaka says the institute helps the government with information, collects and analyzes data to help the government make informed decisions. The minister says the government has regarded it as an opportunity for AFDEP to have its offices in Malawi to be able to easily benefit from the information provided by the institution.
Once information has been obtained, the same is passed on to the stakeholders to enable the stakeholders make informed decisions.
Madise commended the government for creating an enabling environment by, among others, granting meetings with top government officials whenever AFDEP made a request.
So that enables us to understand the needs of Malawi, to understand what development policies and plans are needed for Malawi to make effort in accessing the Sustainable Development Goals and other development commitments.
AFDEP works with the government in the formulation of evidence-based policies.
And that's the news for now, but before we go, the headlines again. Pressure mounts on President Lazarus Chakwera to deal with challenges facing this year's Affordable Imports Program. Activist Sylvester Namiwa challenges the state on the transfer of his case. And authorities warn congestion at Mzuzu prison places inmates at risk of contracting COVID-19. Remember, you can get more on these and other stories by visiting our website www.times.mw, liking our Facebook page Times 360 Malawi, subscribing to 1895 and following us on Twitter at Times 360 Malawi. Remember also to wash your hands regularly, observe social and physical distance, mask up and get vaccinated to prevent COVID-19. Please stay safe. You've been with me, Eric Nsikiti. Good evening.
Mona Malawi anzanga, nkhondo yogonjetsa COVID-19 ndi ya wina aliyense. Tili limodzi.